What is going on, my friends? Eddie Walker here, and today I'm going to talk to you about a problem that you probably have had before, but just don't know why you're having it. And that is having a good groove. Even after you've recorded something that you know, like, oh, it hit, like it felt good when you recorded it, but you got it into the DAW and listened to it again, and it's like, what happened? So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about making sure that your groove stays on from record to production. So let's get into it. So one thing to keep in mind is that the grid is just a guideline. It's not supposed to be, like hard set, like this is where you're going to stay and you're not going anywhere else. A lot of times when you're wanting something to groove, it's not necessarily on the grid. So how do we make our music sound more groovy and more natural to our ears? Let me show you a couple of things that might be hindering that. First things first, whenever you are recording guitar or bass into your DAW, latency could be a problem. Latency is the difference in time between when you hit the quarter note and when it arrives on your DAW, which that's not a problem. If you know how to fix it and get around it, you can still make your music sound like you're hearing it in your head. So inside of Logic Pro, you'll want to go to Settings, then you'll want to go to Audio, and right here in this area, Resulting Latency. Now this latency is based off of your buffer size. Typically when you're recording, you want a lower buffer size so you have less latency. And when you're mixing, you can use a little bit more of a buffer size. So if you pay attention to this number right here, as I change this buffer size, notice it goes up the higher the buffer size is. If you're playing something and something's not really landing, especially when it comes to playing guitar or playing bass into my audio interface and trying to make it work in the DAW, check the buffer size. That may be the issue in why your music isn't landing where you want it to land. Kind of a caveat to the latency in recording guitar into your interface. Let's say that you still record it into your interface and it's still coming off a little late. There's a couple of options you have here. You can use your flex audio, and based off of what type of audio it is, you can go in and move your transients around to where you need them to be. So wherever you need it to sit, you can move it there. Let's say in relation to the guitar itself, everything landed where it needed to be, but with the metronome, it's kind of off. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into, I'm just doing a right click here, and I'm going to go to rotate, and that is just Control Option Command and the left or right arrow, depending on where you want this to be moved. I want to move it to the right, I can move to the right. So again, this is for when you know you nailed it on the timing with your guitar and it still didn't come in right. You can make the adjustment and not have to mess with the latency or buffer settings. So you may have a very straight-laced kind of beat, but you want it to have a little bit more of a vibe and more of a groove to it. Here's what it sounds like just as is. Sounds pretty good, but I still want a little bit of more flavor on it. So what I'm going to do here is, if you go into quantize here in the region inspector and you change the quantization, I've already set the quantization so that I can use the Q swing setting, because otherwise you can't use the Q swing setting unless you set a quantization for that region. Another side note, the difference between this quantization and this quantization, within the piano roll, I can quantize individual notes or individual instruments inside of the drum machine. With region quantization, I'm quantizing the entire region. So everything gets the same quantization value, it gets the same swing value. Let's see what happens when we add a little bit of swing to this. So here's the original. Now let's add a little bit of swing to it. Let's do 65%. Let's see what it sounds. See, already it caused me to kind of move into it. So you're going to feel it when it happens. I'll even try it with a simpler kind of rhythm here. So this is just a simple rock rhythm here. Pretty simple, right? Let's see what happens when we increase the quantization. So this is 60% swing. This is 75% swing. Another thing to note with Q swing is that the standard is 50%. So anything greater than 50% is going to move your beat past the quantization point. Anything under 50% is going to bring your beat in front of your quantization point. All right, listen to this sample right here. Pretty nice snare sample with a little bit of tambourine in it. Listen to what happens when I play this. It's quantized to the grid. Listen to what happens when I play it where the sample starts. So even though I have this set to go on the grid where the sample starts, the actual hit that I'm looking for isn't landing where I want it to. I can go into the audio file editor. I can move the anchor point so that it will actually snap to where the actual hit lands. So let's listen to it now. All right, my friends, that is it for me today. I successfully completed this video before my kid woke up. You should give me some likes just for that. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you learned something today, and let me know in the comments if there are any other music production / Logic Pro / music creation. Well, as always, guys, stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep on creating. We'll see you again next week.